Oloo, a long-time near life distributor, and Pascal and myself are always very happy to be able to spend this Thursday evening training with you, talking about various aspects of our business, in my case, of our products. So as you might have noticed in your invite for today, and I think I did mention it last Thursday, today we'll be talking about healthy aging. So all of us are aging right from the start, and it's not a cause for great concern or consternation, because none of us want to not reach a ripe old age. Nobody ever asks to die young. We all hope to live to a ripe old age. And we belong to a business and a company which takes great interest in ensuring that we not only have a long lifespan, but also a long health span. So that is going to be our discussion for today. And I hope that you can relax and take the next hour with us. So without further ado, the first thing I wanted to mention is maybe a bit of good news, and that is that our bodies are always renewing themselves. So we are self-renewing organisms, which means that we are able to repair broken down parts of ourselves, and we are able to heal when we are injured, and we are able to also grow. Of course, as the years go by, not all growth is good growth, but we do know that we are able to grow. And the reason why we speak about aging in a negative way is because sometimes the process of aging can be accelerated if or when our systems are overwhelmed by an influx of things which should be well regulated, that is, not appearing in our lives all at once. So one of the things, unfortunately, that we cannot regulate is the passage of time. Time passes, whether we are spending it well or badly, it still passes. So the passage of time is not one of the things that we can regulate. However, there are many things where we can take steps to safeguard the health and correct functioning of our major organ systems by, first of all, cultivating healthy lifestyle habits, and in addition to that, supplementing with our neo-life nutritional products and personal grooming products. So as usual, we'll start with looking at a few lifestyle points because, of course, as I said, we supplement. Neo-life is for supplementing what we are doing in our lifestyle. So the first thing will be probably the most important one in mitigating against premature aging and breakdown of our organ systems, and that is exercise and movement. So a healthy lifestyle, we by choosing and cultivating a healthy lifestyle, we safeguard our health and our appearance. And this especially we do so by exercise and movement. We are built to move. And remember that in previous times, during the times of our ancestors and even our maybe great-grandparents and grandparents in some cases, there was a lot of movement involved in daily life. And there was no need for having a deliberate exercise program because life itself built in a great deal of movement, lifting things, pushing things, digging things, holding things, catching things, running away from things. All these were part of our day-to-day life, which means that our bodies were built to be able to deal with such a lifestyle. However, as times have changed and we have entered a new way of living, we find that we need to be deliberate about including exercise and movement in our lives. And if we get lulled into a sense of security by having easy means of transport, having a comfortable office from which to work, a nice chair from which to operate, we may find that we are going against what is supposed to be our natural lifestyle. So the things like movement and exercise are actually not abnormal. Rather, we are trying to bring back something which is supposed to be a normal part of our life. So for that reason, when we are talking about cultivating a healthy lifestyle, one of the things we need to include there is walking often. This does not mean that we need to be walking all the time, but we should include a good amount of walking in our day. Some people speak about 7,000 steps per day, others talk about 10,000, and so on. You can research for yourself and see where you fall. But the thing that I would like to share here is that make walking a continuous and important part of your life, because this is one of the things that will play a key role as the years go by in allowing us to maintain autonomy, independence, as well as good health. Another thing that we should keep in our movement program is be carefully lifting heavy things. As we grow older, this may be more difficult, but we must try to ensure that we are lifting things which are well demanding or challenging for us to pick up, and that is to ensure that we do not lose our musculature. What happens as the years go by is our bodies tend to de-emphasize or deprioritize the building of muscles. And you can see if you compare an older person and a younger person, even if they have the same amount of movement in their lives, the younger person will probably show better muscle definition than the older person. And the reason why maintaining our muscles is important is because one of the things that endangers our lives as we grow older is becoming frail. Frailty means that maybe we are not able to independently get up when we've been sitting down. Let us say we are sitting on the ground. We might not be able to actually get up from the ground to a standing position. And in fact, recently, as you might remember, we have been visiting our team in Kenya, and I found it very interesting and entertaining. One of our distributors in Kisumu, who was very proud of the fact that she can squat. She's a mature lady, and she showed us that she was still able to squat. And this is very important because being able to squat is one of the important movements that are supposed to be built into our day-to-day life. If without going into too much graphics, before we had toilets, we needed to be able to squat for several minutes, maybe more than once a day. And that means that this was a movement that was part of our lifestyle. In today's lifestyle, as a result of a lot of sitting down, we are actually not able to squat. And yet squatting is one of the positions that stretches and relaxes our spinal column very well. So you may have noticed that you struggle. I know I myself struggle with squatting, but it's one of the important movements that we should try to cultivate. Even if we start very little, we should try to be able to squat, or at least to be able to sit down and get up, maybe initially in a chair, but maybe also from the ground. Because let us say something happens and you fall down, you should be able to get up. And so when I'm speaking about frailty, I'm speaking about when our muscles become so weak that we are actually not able to pick ourselves up from certain positions, or not able to do things that we should be able to do. So walking, of course, is very important, one of the best exercises and the most important one, because it is a necessary part of our lives. Joint flexibility, also very important. Stretching are also important. So our exercises should involve or include all these things, from lifting to walking to maintaining joint flexibility, and also being able to stretch and being able to lift. So the next lifestyle point after exercise and movement will be, before I go, I leave the point of exercise and movement. Sometimes we get under the impression that if we sit all day, but we belong to a gym and we exercise for 1 hour every day, then it is enough. Yes, this is better than nothing, but it is more important that we are consistent in moving throughout the day. Let's say every 2 or so hours, we should get up and move about, in addition to that hour of exercise that we might be doing. And this is because the negative aspects of sitting down cannot be neutralized by 1 hour of exercise if we are sitting down the whole day. Because remember, we are sitting down when we are working, and then we are lying down when we are sleeping, which means that 1 hour cannot rectify the damage being done by spending a lot of time sitting down. So after mentioning that, I want to go to the next lifestyle point, which is food choices. So this is the next important item that we should cultivate in order to have a healthy lifestyle that will support us in longevity of life as well as of health. So food choices are within, in most cases, it is within our power. Of course, on our continent, there are many people who do not have choices in what they eat what they can get. But we hope that as time goes by, this is going to be rectified. But I do believe that one of the unfortunate things that I see happening is that processed foods and unhealthy foods are becoming something that people choose over the healthier options that might even be cheaper. So we need to take into account, as we think about healthy aging, the food choices that we make, remembering that as time goes by, our metabolism will be starting to show the signs of any abusive things that we have been doing to it. So if we have been eating problematic foods, if we've been eating unhealthy, excessively processed foods, Western style diet, then as the years go by, our organ systems are going to start malfunctioning. So things like minimizing sugar in our diet, added sugar in our diet, opting for healthier choices like sugar that is contained in fruits and other food items that naturally come with those foods. Also, sometimes we have to rethink about fruits because certain fruits have been hybridized to become very, very sweet. So they are no longer what they naturally were, but we are now marketing hybrids that are particularly made to have a very high sugar content. And that is why in some cases we may need to even look at minimizing the amount of sweet fruit that we are eating. And as well as, of course, minimizing added sugar in our beverages, as well as in other foodstuffs. Processed foods, especially grains, can also be quite problematic. So when we think about the packaged flour foods like food made from wheat flour, food made from maize flour, and so on, all of which have been highly processed, have been bleached so that they are that beautiful white color. These are things we need to opt out of in order to maintain a better diet. On top of that, we opt for healthier fats that come out of things like nuts, fats that come out of substances that naturally contain fat. So something like ghee can be a good option. Olive oil is a good option. Coconut oil, these are healthy fats. Avocado oils, these are healthy fats. And also we should select good quality proteins wherever we can. And proteins are generally okay, except maybe if they've got parasites, but also if they have been processed, because we do know there are certain meats that are processed to make them have a certain consistency or a certain appearance. So these might be not the best choices in terms of proteins because of the food additives that have been added to them. Remember that not all food additives are actually supposed to be in our system, and this can be adding to the load of toxins that our liver and kidney has to deal with. Then, of course, fermented foods should be an important part of our diet, as well as cooked vegetables. As we grow older, we may find that we don't do well with raw vegetables, and so it might be a better choice for us to opt for cooked vegetables if we find that we tend to get bloated and uncomfortable when we eat certain foods. If we are adding foods like legumes in our diet, then soaking them in warm water overnight can help to make them easier to digest, and so on. So food choices, another very important part of cultivating a healthy lifestyle. Then the third point in the lifestyle was dealing with stress and stressors. So the reason why this is important is because stress is one of the factors that accelerate our aging. And if you are a person who has lived for a certain amount of time, if you look back on periods when you are highly stressed, you may have noticed that you start having certain signs of aging appearing on your face. or even in the way your body functions. So we should aim at resolving stress rather than managing stress. I know we often speak about managing stress, but that means that we have accepted stress as part of our life. Resolving stress, on the other side, means that what we try to do is to eliminate the stress aspect of a stressor. In some cases, it may mean making changes in our lives. In some cases, it may mean looking for coping mechanisms that makes us our bodies able to disperse the stress hormones. Because if you remember from one of our sessions on stress, we say that one of the ways in which stress harms us is that the hormones produced in response to stress remain in our system and cause damage to our organs and the functioning of our organ systems. So rather than retain the stress as a part of our lives, we should actually deliberately cultivate the mental discipline that would be required in coping, as well as in suppressing the habit of converting everything into a stressor. Not every difficult thing is actually a stressor. There are many difficult things which, if we apply ourselves and our minds, we can actually rise above the situation and be able to bring it into a normal part of our lives. In some cases, this may not be possible. So what we would do is look for coping mechanisms, such as, for example, going for walks, finding alternative ways of reacting and dealing with situations. It could be that you find pleasant things to do in your life. So sometimes we focus so much on working and managing things and dealing with issues, problems and issues and so on, that we forget to add pleasant things in our lives. You know that in your life, we often have many opportunities to do enjoyable things. There are all these trips and functions that Neolife provides. But at the same time, as time passes by, you can observe yourself and see the things that give you pleasure. For some people, it could be that instead of just exercising, you can take up dancing, or you can take up singing, or you can take up a sport that makes you happy, or a certain social activity that brings you pleasure. So that can be one of the ways in which we neutralize stress, because we will have periods during which the stress hormones in our bodies can dissipate rather than staying there and causing problems. Of course, we will not forget the importance of safeguarding sleep and rest. So during all our ages, sleep is very, very crucial. When before adolescence, we need a minimum of 9 hours. So babies need very many hours of sleep. Adolescents need a minimum of 9. And for other people, we need a minimum of 7 hours. They say between 7 to 8 hours are good. More than 9 might be harmful for an adult, because it does not mean that the more we sleep, the better it is. There's a certain amount that is good for us. And then, of course, beyond a certain amount, it stops being good for us. So 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and also not to feel guilty when we need to rest, and we rest, because resting is a part of a healthy lifestyle. Then I wanted also to mention that some of the pillars of healthy aging. So we have talked about some of the lifestyle points. Of course, there are many others, but I've given you those ones. And as always, you can go on further to find other points to add to those ones. So some of the pillars of healthy aging, number one is the brain. So the support of the health of our brain is very, very important in the aging process. And this is because the brain contains a large part of our identity. If you think about it, our identity is contained in our memories, the things that we have been through. It's contained in our personality, our ways of reacting, our ways of solving problems, and so on. And all this require the input of our brain. So this is why, first and foremost, when we are thinking about aging, the first place we should think about is our brain. Because if our brain is not functioning optimally or properly, then many of the other things will be impossible to put in place. So by stimulating our minds through different things like learning new things, learning new skills. Maybe games can be something that stimulates us mentally, learning new languages, learning different sports activities, and so on. Simply giving our brain something challenging to deal with. It can be learning a craft, even, and so on. There are many examples of ways in which we can challenge our brains so that, as usual, when we show our body that something is being challenged, then our bodies tend to rise to that challenge in order to bring about the ability that we are demanding from it. So if we become very lonely and very uncommunicative and we don't have opportunities for talking to other people, maybe we live alone because our children have grown up and gone on to live their independent lives and so on. It's problematic because one of the ways in which we challenge our brains is through conversation. As someone is speaking to me, so for example, now I'm speaking to you. Unfortunately, you are not speaking back to me except maybe through the chat, which I hope you are. But these exchanges keep our brains sharp because we have to listen and we have also to think and we have to respond. So our social circle will play an important role in the health of our brain and challenging it, but also giving our brains different things to deal with. And that is why, for example, something like a stressor can be an opportunity for us to exercise our brains to see how we can actually resolve that stress by thinking outside our usual ways of dealing with things. So the brain benefits a great deal from rest and especially time. It is only during deep sleep that the brain is able to remove the waste products that have accumulated in it and also to repair some of the tissues that need repairing. So for that reason, the health of our brain very much is supported very much by good rest and adequate sleep. And Neolife has got two supplements that I would recommend highly for our brain health. One of them is Mind Enhancement Formula, which is a herbal preparation of different herbs that support our memory and mental sharpness. I would also recommend Omega-3 Plus, which is also very important for many aspects of our health, and that includes the brain. Then after the brain, the next pillar is movement. Of course, I've mentioned this in the previous section, but movement has got very many benefits of very many parts of our health. But as we know, as we get older, I know that in my stage in life, I'm not able to do some of the exercises and movements that I could do when I was younger. But we cannot allow ourselves to lose ground. We should try to retain as much ability as we can. It may mean that we do shorter periods and lighter exercise, but we should try to always maintain our movement. And this is in order to fight against becoming frail. And because if we become frail, then very soon we'll need a lot of assistance. And it's not necessarily so that we'll be able to get that assistance in our day-to-day life. So things like flexibility, which I mentioned before. So all in all, to say that exercise programs should include all the different types of movements that we want to retain as the years go by. And the Neolife supplement that plays an important role here is full motion. So in addition to mind enhancement and omega-3, I can add their full motion because full motion helps in the health of joints. And our joints are supposed to have a lifetime guarantee of working. But as a result of injuries and maybe certain things that might happen over as time goes by, we may find that our joints, one or two of our joints are not working very well. So full motion helps us to rebuild our cartilage. And as I said, many of our body parts are able to rebuild themselves. So we can add that to one of the supplements that, as the years go by, should form an important part of our supplementation. The third pillar is our metabolism. So we have, in the past weeks, we spoke extensively about our metabolism, and of course, we'll continue to do so. but just to say that our major organs are very important for our health and longevity, and the longevity of our health. So when we think about something like tree and N, it's very important for our cellular health. And remember, our health begins at the mitochondrial level. That means right from within our cells, tree and N will already be working for the health of that cell. And that means we are starting at the very base. Then we also have one of the supplements, Botanical Balance, which is one of the ones that helps in the functioning of our metabolic processes, helping organs like the liver and the pancreas, which we had for our energy production systems. We have something like lipotropic adjunct, which is very important for our heart and cardiovascular health. That is our heart and our blood vessels, in addition, of course, to omega-3 plus. And we have vitamin C and herbal respiratory complex play an important role in the health of our lungs. We have fiber tablets and things like garlic and so on that are essential for the health of our gut and so on. So take care of your metabolism, because the metabolism, when it stops working well, is the root of many of our illnesses. So when you think about what we call lifestyle-related illnesses, like your liver, your kidney, your lungs, your pancreas, and so etc. So for that reason, those supplements such as Tree and N, which is our baseline, things like Botanical Balance, and things like vitamin C, herbal respiratory, and so on are very, very important. Fiber tablets, remember, supplements our dietary fiber, which should be coming from our diet, but we can boost it by using the fiber tablets or multi-fiber blend. The last point in the pillars will be socializing. So as I said, our social circle plays an important role in our health. We can exercise with friends, we can speak and debate with our friends. All this will help our brain function and challenge us in terms of our thinking and our moving and so on. Family and social interactions and relationships also play a very important role, because our families give us a sense of purpose. But what I wanted to mention here is, as we grow older, we need to resist the urge to govern everything and everybody. A great deal of stress that affects us as we grow older is trying to manage things and people who no longer need us to manage them, and who should be handed over their lives so that they start managing their own lives. So I don't know what your situation is, but I know as a parent of older children, I now consider myself in the position of a consultant. And if they consult me for their issues, then I have a part to play. If they do not, then I assume they are able to deal with their own issues independently. And that means I can then disengage my identity from the activities of my children. As we grow older, it is important for us also to maintain our own identity with our own interests and our own things that we do. Sometimes if you are maybe like me, who spent many years of your life as a full-time parent, it might be difficult to disengage yourself from the activities of your children. But it is important to do so in order for you to strike out your own identity in the later stage of your life, so that you are able to live a life that is meaningful to you and that is not causing stress to maybe the younger people in your life as a result of maybe helping more than is needed. This can be a thing, and maybe we can think about it ourselves. As part of socializing, I also wanted to mention our appearance. So our appearance is an important part of the aging process. And as the years go by, they will leave signs of aging. But with our Neolife Nutrients range, which is our cosmetic range for facial and neck skin, as well as our personal grooming range, these can help us with our personal grooming so that we keep our appearance as attractive as we are able to. But in addition to that, remember that when we are good health, improves our appearance immensely. So if we are sick, it doesn't matter how good the makeup that we apply is. It is not going to be as good as good health can make us appear. So our appearance is very important. Our personal grooming is very important. And remember, in our Neolife business, we are often the face of the business. We are often the window through which people see the Neolife business. For that reason, our appearance and our personal grooming is always important. And also remember that our Neolife business gives us many opportunities for interacting with other people, of learning new skills and new things. I mean, for us older people, there are many tech things that we are learning in order to be able to use in our business, which maybe if we were not in the business, we might not have had a reason to actually apply ourselves to. So our business is actually very useful in giving us such opportunities. So in finishing, maybe not in finishing exactly, but just to mention a few points which might be repetitive, but things which can speed up the aging process and make us age prematurely. Remember that aging is linked to changes in our DNA, and this can be speeded up by toxins in our life. It could be in our environment. It could be some that we are taking inadvertently in our food or cleaning things, but also it can be things that we are deliberately taking in, things like alcohol and smoking. These tend to speed up the aging, especially of the skin and some of our important organs. Then we have stress and stressors, as well as pollutants and toxins. Then let me finish by mentioning some of the important Neolife supplements that you can consider making part of your long-term supplementation program as your years advance. So, of course, we always speak about 3NN as our baseline, but then we say that for the optimal baseline, we move up to ProVitality. So by using ProVitality, we have got a good baseline of supplementation. As the years go, we move into the middle ages, 40s, 50s, and so on. The body becomes more susceptible to certain issues. It can be things like enlargement of the prostate gland, maybe because we spend a lot of time sitting and maybe our metabolism is becoming sluggish, or it could be because toxins are building up and so on. So we become susceptible to certain issues. We also become less able to break down certain things that maybe before were not problematic. So, for example, some of us might find that we can no longer take coffee because it really interferes with our sleep. People who used to be able to drink maybe a certain amount of alcohol, as the years go by, you may find that you're no longer able to do so. So as we reach our middle years, we need to really be focused on eliminating those things that are going to overload our organ systems with problems. We can add things like Calmag because maybe we might not be getting as much as we need in our diet. And also our bodies might not be prioritizing building stronger bones and bigger muscles. So we need to ensure that our protein intake, very important for both men and women, is at par. They say we need about, for every kilo of body weight, we need a gram of protein. So that more or less, you can maybe get more accurate figures, but do make sure that you're getting adequate protein in order to be able to rebuild your tissues when they break down. For men, zinc and cruciferous plus is very important for their reproductive health as the years go by. And as we reach above 60, we are thinking about making sure that we are using full motion. We are using vitamin A plus D or getting a good amount of sun exposure. Remember, vitamin A plus D also assists in the absorption of calcium and other health, respiratory health, and so on. For vitamin A plus D, very, very important, even for the suppleness of our skin and the good health of our skin. Things like vitamin C, also very essential for our immune system and our formation of collagen. I've many times had people asking about using collagen supplements. What normally is forgotten that collagen does not stand alone. One of the things our bodies use for building collagen is vitamin C. So vitamin B is another one important for energy production, as well as the production of blood. And I already mentioned mind enhancement for mental sharpness. And finally, I can include their magnesium complex that helps in relaxation and good quality sleep. So then to finish off there, with our appearance, we have got the nutrients range for the different type of skin types. And we also have our personal grooming products. Remember that these products usually will have their standalone sessions in which I will speak about them specifically. But I hope that what we have spoken about so far will help not only the older people, but the younger people to start thinking about ways in which they can support themselves in aging healthily so that you ensure that all the years that God gives you in this life will be healthy to the extent that that depends upon your efforts. So let us do our best to age healthily, because that will be good for ourselves, but also good for those who love and care about us. So I think that I will stop there for today. I hope that you have found the session beneficial and interesting. And thank you very much for having spent the time and the data. Of course, Pascal is standing by to take you through the business part of the session. As for myself, I hope that the month end was good and that you are geared up for the month of August, which here in Southern Africa, we call it Women's Month, where I hope that all of us ladies and the gents in our lives will make the month a very meaningful one for us. I wish you all the best in the month as it goes along. Thank you very much. Yes, Pascal.
Thank you very much, Betty. A reminder to all the men, the Women's Day is on the 9th of August.
It's only in South Africa.
Sorry, I'm told that it's only in South Africa. Wherever you are, remember this is the month for the women. One of the things that is very important in healthy aging is to have enough money to live well. So I'm going to, and if I may share the screen with you. One of the things that is very important in having enough money is understanding our compensation plan. Our compensation plan is based on a director model. What does that mean? It means that if you want to rise to the highest level in our business, the more directors you build, the more income you're going to earn. So this session, I want to give you a brief idea on how to become a director. If you have just started the business, you're a distributor, you're not a manager yet, or if you're a manager and you want to get to director, or if you're a senior manager or executive manager, you want to get to director. The important thing is make this very, very simple. If you make the business simple, your business is going to grow and become a very stable business. So let's look at becoming a director. Just one moment. So if you want to become a director, you need to understand that our compensation plan is based on a director model. What does that mean? That the idea is to bring people into the business and you teach them to become directors. What is the goal of our business? The goal of our business is to move products to different households, to different people. And that always starts with you as a distributor. So the goal is move products from Neolife to different users. That's one. The other thing is this. You need to have a goal of doing 100 PV every single month. How do you do that? Have 6 to 8 retail customers. What is it? It means that you need 6 to 8 people who are not distributors who buy products from you so that you reach your 100 PV every month. From 100 PV, excuse me, the next goal you need to reach is to become a manager. How do you become a manager? You need to sponsor 3 people or 3 distributors who do 100 PV each, plus your own. Eventually you need to get to 500 PV. Then you've become a manager. Then from becoming a manager, the next goal is to become a senior manager. How do you become a senior manager? You become a senior manager by doing 1,000 group PV. Remember, you always need 100 PV in your own name. And your total group PV should be a 1,000. That means you need to develop 3 managers in your team. That is 3 or more people who do at least 500 PV in their group. If you total them up, they should get to 1,000 points. And then how do you become an executive manager? You become an executive manager by developing 3 qualified managers. That means 2 legs, each doing 1,000 PV. If you total up, you'll get 2,000 PV. You become an executive manager. How do you become a director? You develop 3 executive manager in different legs. That is in summary how to become a director. If you can do this, you'll find that your business grows steadily and with confidence. You don't have to stress, or you don't have to have PV stress at the end of the month. Now, let's look at an example of how to build. I see somebody here is very excited about my screen. Just one moment, please. Let me correct that. All right, so, Karen, how do you build customer base? You build a customer base by doing a number of things. Number one, listening to people's needs. That's the best way to develop customers. Sometimes when you join the business, or when new people join the business, they think our business is going door to door or knocking on people's door and selling products. We don't do that. What we do in our business is, first, we know what the products do. We know what the products do through training. Every time you go for training, you take notes. You know that if I meet somebody with this condition, or if I meet somebody with this need, this is a product I recommend. So first step is you need to understand or listen to customers. 2, product knowledge. Then if you have enough product knowledge, you link our products with the needs of our customers. Okay? So in this example, I want to give an idea on how to build a 200 PV unit. Remember, the minimum we need to do every month is 100 PV. But with time and with experience, as you get to know more people, it's quite possible or quite easy for you to reach 200 PV, 300 PV, and so on. If you meet somebody who needs to do some cleaning, general cleaning, dishwashing, cleaning the carpets, the tiles, the bathroom, LDC. How much is LDC? 10 PV. Multipurpose heavy duty cleaner, Super 10, 10 PV. The care solution disinfectant, in fact, with the care solution, if a customer buys one, the next time they're going to buy care, I am certain, is between 6 and 8 months, because care is very concentrated. Let's go to the health supplements. Do you know somebody with diabetes? A friend, a relative, an office mate, a colleague, somebody at your church. If you know somebody with diabetes, recommend to them Botanical Balance 3NN. That is 17 PV and 19. Do you know somebody with high blood pressure? Suggest omega-3 plus garlic allium complex. This is 15 plus 12 is 27. Somebody with ulcers, somebody who is stressed, aloe vera plus zinc. That is 23 PV. Arthritis, Calmag omega-3 plus, that's 27 PV. Somebody with prostate, 16 PV. If you get customers with these needs and you fulfill you fulfill the needs that they have with our products, you're able to generate 200 PV quite well without so much stress. But the key thing is this: you need to listen to people. You need to observe people. You need to listen. People complain about 2 things most of the time: lack of money, poor health. Those things are these are the 2 things most people complain about. So if you can generate 200 PV, you're well on your way to getting your next step to become a manager. So let's look at the numbers. How do you become a director? If you want a strong director business that does 4,000 month in, month out, these are the numbers. If you want to manage a business, you need 4 to 6 active people in your group. Senior manager, you need between 8 and 12 active distributors in your group. Executive managers, 15 to 24 distributors in your group. You notice this is assuming an average of 100 PV per distributor. Some will have more, some will have less, but if you average, you will have 100 PV per distributor. If you want a strong director group, a strong director business, you need between 40 and 60 active distributors. If you keep these numbers in mind, because it will help you to plan and grow your business to be strong and stable. So what's the plan? The plan is this: sponsor 3 new people every month. That's really the goal. Follow our 3 in 30 program. What is your weekly goal? Show the business to 6 to 10 prospects every week. Some will say yes, some will say no. Then break it down to daily activity, the daily method of operation. Show the business to 2 to 3 people on a daily basis. If you do that, you will get the people who are looking for our business. Will everybody say yes? No. Will some people say yes? You will find the people who say yes, people who've been looking for the business. That is really how to become a director. What I found very useful for me, because I like to draw things, I find it clarifies thoughts and issues very well. Let me say month one. Month one, you've started the business. You look for customers. Month one, you actually don't sponsor anybody. You've got 6 to 8 customers. Each of them is doing, let's say, 15 to 20 PV or 30 PV. Eventually, you do your 100 PV. That is month number one. Month number two. Month number two, you're already starting to get customers. You're starting to expand your customer base. You're able to do 200 PV personal. And then you sponsor 3 people who do add 100 PV each. But remember, sponsoring people is not enough. You need to teach them how to obtain or get customers. So, in this example, in month 2, you sponsored 3 people, each of them doing 100 PV plus your own. You've done your 500 PV, you're a manager. Month number 3. Month number 3, your goal is to become either a senior manager or executive manager. What do? Each of these people you brought in the month number 2, you teach them how to get their own customers so that they're able to become managers themselves. You have 1, 2, 3, plus your own volume, you get either senior manager or executive manager, you reach 2,000 points. Month number 4 or month number 5, to become a director, you need 1, 2, 3 executive managers in your team. If you have 3 executive managers in your team, you will do 4,000 PV without a lot of stress. That is simply how to become a director. The tip at the bottom is this: you build this business manager by manager. When you sponsor somebody, your goal is to help them become a manager. When they become a manager, they also start sponsoring. You teach them to teach their people to become managers. That is how you grow your business, gradually building your business manager by manager. If you keep doing that, you'll get to director. Once you become a director, somebody in your team will ask you what you've done. You only show them what to do. Eventually, they'll also become directors. And that's how you grow a wild team member. That's how you become a president's team member in the business. The last thing I'd like to share with you is building a success mindset. What is success? Success is a progressive realization of a worthwhile dream or goal. First, it's important to remember that it is progressive. Success is not a destination. It's a process. It's a process that you go through to become a different person from what you are. Okay? So success is progressive realization of a dream. So step number 1 is you need to have a dream. That means you need to have the desire to have more than you have at the moment. Step number 2 is have a goal. The dream that you let me say your dream is to have buy a car or build a house. Break it down into a goal. Okay, at the end of this year, how much money do I want to start earning from the business? In 2 years' time, in 4 years' time, in 8 years' time. Then create a plan for achieving this. That means you need to create an activity list, the things you want to do to make this a reality. And then work your plan. Work your plan simply means put your plan into action. Step number 5, have daily rituals. This may sound a bit, having a daily ritual means that you have specific things that you do every single day without fail. That is what a ritual is. If you think about it, you're mostly, when you wake up in the morning, you mostly wake up from the same side of the bed. When you go to brush your teeth, you mostly either brush with your left or your right hand. If you go and have your tea or coffee, you're likely to do exactly the same thing. If you go to church, you're likely to be sitting at the same place every time you go to church, or you go to a mosque, or you go to whatever it is. Okay? We are creatures of habit. So we need to build rituals every day of the things we want to do to make sure you develop that mindset that helps us to be successful. The first one I would recommend, read your goals every single day. If you read your goals every day, those goals eventually become part of your subconscious mind, and you're likely to notice people that will help you achieve those goals. Second, read good books. I cannot emphasize this more enough. Read good books every day, 15 minutes only. In fact, if you read a book for 15 minutes every day, after a year, you'll have finished 20 books of that nature, 200-page books, just 15 minutes every day. Then keep company with the people who encourage you to go after your dreams. So what you're actually doing, you're developing a mind which is set towards success. Because remember, the mind is a spiritual faculty. You can't touch it, you can't feel it, but you know it's there. But the way you set it is, you set your mind to think about your dreams, think about your goals, think about the things you need to do to become successful. So how do you develop a success mindset? Number 1, you need to have a goal. There's no need to develop a success mindset and you're not aiming at anything. So success is having a progressive realization of a worthwhile goal. And the way to do that is to work towards your goal. Number 1. Number 2, protect your mind. Protect your mind from negative thinking people. Protect your mind from news, because news is mostly negative. Protect your mind from people who discourage you. Protect your mind from anything or anybody who tells you your goals are not worthwhile to go after. All right? And one of the things you need to do to attract the right kind of people is to have excitement in your business or in your life. You know, one of our upcoming leaders in Kenya sent me a message the other day. I'm very, very excited. My sudden, at least now my business has moved to the US. It's very exciting because if you start wherever you are, this leader is in Nairobi, Kenya. Oh, sorry, not even Nairobi, in Nyeri. And she's presented the business sometime in, I think, 2 months ago. And suddenly her business is now in the US. If the business starts growing, very soon she'll start receiving money in US dollars. So it's very exciting. One of the things you're going to do to attract the right kind of people is to be excited about your life, to be excited about your business, to be excited about the things that you do. If you keep doing that, you will attract the right kind of people and your business will grow. You will develop the success mindset that you need to get to the next level. And we'll be very excited to have you go on stage as a director, a world team member, a president's team member. This is a new month. We are in the month of August. I want to recommend to you to set 3 goals. 1, personal PV production. Number 2, personal sponsoring, the number of people you want to bring into your business. Goal number 3, group PV. What step do you want to make for the month of August? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you very much for spending time with Betty and myself. We hope some of the things we've shared with you are going to help you grow your business to the next level. Thank you, good night, and God bless.